board meeting for June 1st, 2021, 7 p.m. Start out with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of reflection. Robert, if you would lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if everyone would just please bow their heads for a moment of reflection. All right, let's get underway. Item number 2. First real part of the business is to establish the voting members. Oh, I'm sorry, thank you for keeping me in line. Part 1B, the oath of office. We have several members that have re-upped for another 3 years. Of those, you have Patrick Harrison, Louis Philippi, and Charles Griffin. And Louis is not with us this evening, so Amy could go ahead and swear in Patrick and Charles.
Actually, all they have to do is stand up, you can put your hand on the Bible and lift your right hand. And if both of you can just read out the oath at the same time.
I, Charles Griffin,
I, Patrick Harrison, do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not with inconsistent therein. And I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as a member of the Union County Planning Board. So help me God. I, Patrick Harrison,
Charles Griffin,
do solemnly, sincerely swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will faithfully
and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina, and the Constitution,
powers, and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of my knowledge and ability,
so help me God.
I, Charles Griffin,
I, Patrick Harrison,
do swear that I will well and truly
execute the duties of the office
of a member of the Union County Planning Board according to the best of my skills and abilities, according to law,
so help me God.
I'll just pick them up from you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, number 2, since I was getting ahead of myself earlier, establish the voting members. Since we have an odd number of standard board members, Robert will not be needed to vote this evening. So board members to the right of me will be all present and voting. And I would like to take a moment to welcome Russell back. Had a hiatus for a while, and we're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Item number 3, additions or deletions to the agenda. Does anyone have anything that they would like to bring before the board? If no one has any comments, a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Raise your right hand. All right. 5-0. Item number 5, approval of the minutes from the April 2021 meeting. Please take a moment to review that, and upon completion of doing so, we can have a motion.
Motion to approve is presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Patrick? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, number 5-0. Brings us to item number 6. This is RZ 2021-001, the Hayes Road rezoning. Before we get into this, any persons wishing to speak in support or against the rezoning application must sign in on the speaker sheet. If you haven't done so already, please do so.
bring the sheet up for Sharon.
There was no names on it.
No names. Is there anyone at this time that would like to sign up in addition?
I think it's just the applicants that are here.
Excellent.
Just the applicants? Yeah, so I believe the applicants will be speaking on it.
Excellent. Well, that being said, Bjorn, please.
All right, good evening, members of the planning board. First, I'd like to introduce you to our new PowerPoint format. County's going through a branding initiative, and you're going to see this used quite a bit for future presentations. This is a rezoning for Hayes Road. I'm going to get into this. This is a request to rezone from highway commercial to R40 on the northwest corner of Hayes and Hayes, which is in the Indian Trail portion of Union County. It isn't unincorporated, but it's near Indian Trail. This is part of a larger parcel that is shown here. This is the piece that is actually being subdivided. It's been recorded as a minor subdivision, but it's not showing up in our parcel map data, so that's going to have to catch up in terms of actually being able to file the rezoning and take advantage of that if this were approved, but it's approximately 3 acres out of a larger tract. There are no conditions. This is what's called a straight rezoning. It's just from highway commercial to R40, so it's just a request to approve or deny, not to apply any conditions to it. In terms of the current status of it, the one on the left is the site. It is a cleared field, forested on the perimeter. West of the site, have an old barn, but again, more 2-lane roads, pretty low density development patterns. And to the east of the site towards US 74, you can see again, pretty forested, scattered single-family residential. In terms of adjacent municipalities, close to Indian Trail, but it is in unincorporated Union County. You can see 74 on the northwest, railroad tracks here, and then Monroe Road further to the southwest. In terms of development status, the gray area is considered developed. That's really industrial mining. Large undeveloped areas around there, and then towards 74 more developed. These light green are large lot residential, so they have a redevelopment or underdeveloped designation. In terms of environmental features, wetlands, streams, any other sensitive features, there aren't any on the site. It's wetlands immediately to the west, but the parcel itself is pretty clean. In this aerial, which is from 2019, it shows it as forested. It's since been logged. You can do that if you're going to build a single-family house, so that doesn't violate anything, the fact that it has been cleared in the last couple of years. In terms of utilities, once they actually apply to build something there, they would be evaluated on whether they need to connect to Union County Public Works, whether it's water or sewer, but my understanding is it's not present to this area, so it's going to be served by well and septic systems. In terms of zoning, the reason why we're here today is because this area that's in unincorporated Union County is almost all highway commercial. There's a little bit of industrial to the northwest, that is the purple, and then just general business development is the tan. And so they want to carve this piece out into R40, which would allow the house to be built. In terms of transportation, there are no funded projects in this area. You can see that the orange line through here, that is a proposed realignment of Hayes Road to line up with an existing intersection on US 74. It's not funded. This really would only take effect if this area were to be redeveloped and there was a site plan. You could say, well, we want you to shift this road and build it through here. That would be a part of that. But otherwise, the traffic in the area is pretty low. Hayes Road north-south is between 2,700 and 3,600 cars per day, and Hayes Road to the west is approximately 500 vehicles per day. This is 2019 data. In terms of the land use plan, this request is actually not consistent with the land use plan because US 74 has an employment corridor overlay. That area was all zoned highway commercial and industrial years ago because of the proximity to rail and US 74, but there are houses in the area, there is some residential, and that's why you're going to see in a few slides, we do recommend approval, even though it's in violation of the plan. If the employment corridor weren't considered, it would be for mixed residential, meaning you could do townhomes, condos, apartments, higher density residential. And this is obviously much lower on just 3 acres of land, but it would be R40, so it could be subdivided into potentially 3 lots in the future. So staff recommendation, in terms of the negatives, it's inconsistent with the land use map, could deter future industrial commercial development in the area. Positives, there are existing residences in the area, so this isn't something out of the norm. There's a significant amount of vacant commercial land in the area, and Hayes Road is a 2-lane, low-volume road, so it's really not that appropriate at this time for the type of development that could occur with that highway commercial designation. There really does need to be transportation upgrades in the area to make that work. So because of these pluses and minuses, we do recommend approval of this rezoning application. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, I know both the applicant and the property owner are here to answer any questions about the request as well.
Any questions from the board at this time? All right, at this time, if the applicant would please come forward, state your name and address, and if you'd like to make a few comments regarding your request.
This is my family's land, so we just want to build a home on our family land. I don't know what to say.
So,
Can you please state your name and
Oh, I'm
address for the
sorry.
record?
Sorry, Shara Duke.
and I'm David Duke.
It could be nerve-wracking up there, I guess.
So, this was her family's land, and we intended to build. And we found through all this that it's zoned commercial. So, we're just trying to build. So, you don't have any nerves. So, it was always farmland, it's always been tended to. And when we came to this step, we were like, how is this commercial? So we kind of dug into it, and this is where we're at. So, she just wants to live next to her parents.
Any board members have any questions? Very good. Ma'am, if you'd like to speak, just state your name and address for the record.
I'm Susan Stokes, and my granddaddy was a Hayes, and he built a house there in 1921. When I got married in 1975, he wanted me to build a house on it, on his land. My husband and I did, and then I inherited more land, and because I lost an uncle, and he left the land to me. And I have 2 daughters, and one day I want both of them to have Hayes Road land, because I've lived there all my life. And my other daughter is well settled. I don't think she would move back to Hayes Road. But I would really appreciate you letting us rezone it to get them a house close to us. And I have a 92-year-old mama that is so excited that her granddaughter is going to be close to her. So I just, it's all family land. All of our cousins live around us. They're so excited. My neighbor, Judy, she is excited. And so please, let us build a house on our land. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am, please come up and state your name and address for the record.
I'm Judy Long. I live on Hayes Road. We've been there 38 years. Fine, fine people. Clean, beautiful yards. Don't throw trash out, although some people a little bit farther down on Hayes Road go by and toss their drinks and whatever. It's a wonderful, wonderful little area that we would welcome her, Shara and David and their son Tristan to our Hayes Road. We're not Hayes, but we are. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, are there any additional folks that would like to speak at this time? At this time, we're going to close public comments. Any closing comments from the county before we get into discussion? Very good. Any discussion amongst the board? And it should be noted, this is a straight rezoning, so there, sir?
Question. You want this HC that is zoning that's around that land,
Yes, sir.
if I understood it correctly, can they still come in and if somebody decides to build a factory or something like that, can they do that?
If it's consistent, if it's eligible activity under that designation, then yes.
How's that going to affect the 2050 comp plan?
I mean, this area is, I can pull up the staff report and I won't have to speak extemporaneously. $20.50. So this, it's still identified as employment corridor. If it wasn't being used for employment, it would be interpreted as a transition zone, which means that it's one of those islands that we want to annex into the adjacent municipalities if they want to rezone and do something with their land. Now, this is rare because almost all the time we're talking about rezonings for increased intensity. This is a down zoning. We might still want to approve that and not force them to annex into Indian Trail. So that's about the only one-off compared to this.
Where I'm going with this is trying to protect the homeowner from a standpoint that wake up one day and there's equipment adjacent to their land, digging a big hole, or
Yeah.
a two-story building going up, or 100 square foot.
Yes, I mean, the map, this map is still real. This is still all industrial, and that's still highway commercial, which is definitely potential, and you're,
Was that explained to the applicant?
a couple 100 yards. Any questions about that?
Okay. And y'all are fine with that? Just trying to protect you.
Yeah.
I want you to know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything against it. So, okay. Thank you very much for clarification.
Before we get into further discussion, I just did want to reemphasize, this is a straight rezoning. There'd be no comments or conditions. It's just approved or denied. But further discussion, comments? That being said, do we have a motion?
Hang on one second.
Sure.
How far is that? There's a mining pit across from them? How far away is that?
Pull it up.
Well, it's back towards Monroe.
It's back this way. So I think really the most intensive part is over here, but you can see that there's roads for access all through here. So it's back behind them a third of a mile to the southeast.
Is that Brickyard?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brickyard's right
So
here.
do those trucks go down Hayes Road to 74? Will they go past your property then?
It's closed out.
No.
It's closed down?
It's been closed.
And I think their previous access was either out to they had their
Yeah,
own-
they had their own access to
Yeah, they had their own
74.
access point, 74 and over to Old Charlotte.
Okay. I just don't want them building a house and having trucks
Sure.
rolling by.
But they have a lot of frontage along, I mean, like Don said, things could change in the future.
Oh, absolutely. But they're okay with it? Okay.
Any further discussion or questions, or do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve.
Do we have a second? All in favor of motion to approve? Raise your right hand. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Before we get into the next steps that Bjorn will be, outlining, just please note that when you do go before the commissioners, anyone that wishes to speak, please do sign up ahead of time. It'll just make this process a little smoother for them. But congratulations. Bjorn, please explain the next steps for us.
Sure. So after this, it will go, we'll run ads and alert the adjacent property owners, just like we did for this meeting, to let them know that there'll be a public hearing at the first meeting in July, which would be the 6th. If everything runs smooth, the applicant will typically request for action that evening. So if things are quiet like they were tonight, there's a good chance that they would get an action a month from now. And we've communicated that to them. And then after that, it'll get recorded at the Register of Deeds, and then that zoning will be official, and you'll be able to pull a building permit based off of that.
Very good. Thank you, Bjorn.
Sheriff, comment. I just like to thank these people that are here tonight for their courtesy, their manners, how smooth this ran, because as we know from past experience, sometimes they don't go this smooth.
Exactly.
Good luck to the board. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Moving along, item number 7, the planning staff report.
Thank you.
So you, as members of the planning board, took action 2 months ago to make a recommendation for the Union County 2050 Comprehensive Plan. That was presented to the Board of Commissioners at their first meeting in May. They asked some general questions about it. Archie Morgan spoke about it, and the public hearing was scheduled for next Monday, the 7th. And so that is open to the public, committee members, anyone, planning board members, general public can come and speak for or against the recommendations in the plan. I do know of at least one municipal representative who's coming to speak about some of the recommendations from it. And at that point, I don't expect them, yes, go ahead.
What are the recommendations? Are they going to speak for?
The municipality I'm aware of that is planning to come and speak is the town of Stallings, and it's about the 1/4 sales tax, not against it, but to in fact broaden the eligibility to include fixed route transit because of their light rail planning they're doing with Charlotte. So that is a request Stallings is making. This board obviously made 2 recommendations to modify the plan. One was to actually pull back the 1/4 sales tax and not have that as a strategy. And the second was to do more about drinking water, but not necessarily getting into what more looked like, just to increase the emphasis of it. So those are the only 2 changes. Otherwise, you recommended the plan in its entirety. So the commissioners will hear it, and at some time in the future, they're going to tell us what to do. Either just delete 2 sections or overhaul it in some way. We're not sure, but at some point in the future, they will schedule it for adoption. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Bjorn at this time? Thank you, Bjorn. And we're making great time, so that brings us up to item number 8, brief comments. So any board members that wish to speak? Russell? Patrick?
Glad to be back.
Glad to have you.
Glad to have you.
Glad I didn't get COVID.
Patrick?
I'm good.
Charles? Vice Chair?
I'd like to make a motion that all meetings going forward last the same way. And I expect you as chair to direct these folks to make it happen, okay?
I believe you're
Just
setting
everybody.
the bar a little too high there.
They have to limit the zonings to 1 zoning per.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Robert, do you have any comments?
It's on you.
It has to be an easy one.
All right, and before we close out, the only comment I have, I did not get to this last meeting, and I wish I did. I wanted to thank Don for his service as the chairman, and I'd like to thank Russell for his service as the vice chair. You guys did a tremendous job, and Don has been a great mentor to me, so I wanted to publicly thank him. That being said,
My pleasure.
do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Russell, second. Do we have a second? Charles, all in favor, raise your right hand. There you go. 7:25, new record.
Now, new record.
I got a question. Vice Chair. Who's the vice?
He looked wonderful.
I missed that.